Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to take a look at the NZXT H510 mid-tower PC case. With this case, you'll be able to fit your standard ATX, MATX, and ITX motherboard. Just to go over the specs of the case, this is 18.1 inches high, it's 8.27 inches wide, and it is 16.85 inches long, compared to what is arguably probably the most popular case or best-selling case is the 4000D, which is 18.35 inches high, 9.06 inches wide, and 17.83 inches long. So very similar case specs wise, like for the dimensions. You do get a USB 3 type A USB at the top and a type C with your head jack and your power button. It has room to fit two 140 millimeter fans in the front, one 140 millimeter fan, and it comes with a 120 millimeter fan that you can fit at the back. So this comes with like a easy access rear IO cover. All you have to do is loosen these thumb screws. It actually just slides out of the way without coming off, and then you can add or remove your IO covers, put your GPU or other cards that you have in, and then you can just screw them back in and tighten these by hand. That's kind of nice, instead of having the whole thing come off and having to fiddle around with the thumb screws and the shield wherever it may be. One thing I like about this is the way the two side panels come off. So this side panel has one thumb screw holding it on. It just easily pops off. It seems like a magnet or something, I think, over here holding in the place, or it could just be wedged in there. I really can't tell. And then it has a little lip at the bottom that holds it. So when it comes time to actually putting it back on, it's easy. It just slides in and closes on, and then you can screw it in with one thumb screw. Looking inside, it's pretty general here. The bottom plate where the PSU, yeah, I'm saying that right, sits underneath is perforated. Besides that, it has, the cable management cover, so you can't see any of the cable holes in the back. And then on the back side, on the rear, this is the way they designed this panel is kind of nice. Most of the other panels that I've dealt with on the back, you have a bunch of little grooves that you have to line up and then push it in and then slide it forward. This actually has three. Let's see how easy it is for me to get it off. It's got three little lips right here, and then this has three little holes right there where you just have to line it in. It's almost like a door hinge. Line it up, push it in, and it just sits there, and you nicely makes it easy to close and secure it and screw it back in, instead of having to try to fiddle around, line up all those grooves at the top and the bottom, and slide it forward. And this has great, in my opinion, cable management. We got grooves up here to put your cables, lots of places for zip ties there and there, and it has a nice little channel here as well to put more cables. So all these little channels make it easy to run your cables, get them out of the way, make it look, well, you can probably make it look tidier than what I have right here, but I think this is tidy enough to get away with. And it has ample room between the back plate here where the motherboard screws into and the side panel, that you're not squishing the wires to try and get the door closed. It has probably a good, I'd say ½ inch at least. It might be pushing closer to 3/4 of an inch. It's got a lot more room in the back to play around with cables than my 465 Corsair over there. That one, I find trying to get the back panel back on requires me to kind of squish things a little bit to get it into place. So that's one of the pluses there. It also has room for 3.5 inch drives. If you aren't using it, it can be unscrewed and pulled out, so you have more room for your PSU cables or whatever. And it also has two 2.5 inch drive holders right there, so it has ample room for any storage needs that you might have. It does not come with any place where you can install like a DVD drive or anything like that you might need access to. So with this, when it comes lengthwise, you can fit pretty much, I believe, any GPU in here. My 4070 Ti has lots of room this way to install it. However, when it comes to the depth, there's not as much room. So it sits almost 6 inches deep compared to this. So this would come out to almost right here, which you think, okay, I can still fit that in. But when it comes time to plug in the adapter and try and close the window, you'd be putting a lot of pressure on the power cable, which can damage it over time or immediately, depending on how much pressure you put on it. So if you do intend to get a bigger GPU, you might have to use it without the front panel or the side panel on it. Or if you can get a GPU with the cables coming out at a different area, that would also work as well. However, again, like I said, I would probably not recommend this case for a powerhouse of a GPU that's going to draw a lot of power, because it does have the potential to overheat, where the front, there's only enough room for the front for 2 120 millimeter fans. It does not have room for a third one. So you can go up to 128 millimeter AIO, but on the flip side, it also lacks a lot of room for airflow. So let me put the front panel back on, and I'll show you what I mean. So the very front of it, there's nothing. It's a flat, solid piece of metal. There's no room for any kind of airflow here. The only place you have for airflow is this little perforated strip here on the side, which again is pretty restrictive. And at the bottom, there's another. Let's go the other way. On the bottom here, there's another tiny perforated strip with, I believe, it does have a filter on it, but it's really small. So for the intake for your 2 front fans, for just the regular fans, or if you have an IO on there, AIO, there is not a lot of room to draw fresh, cool air in. So it's definitely going to restrict the cooling performance of this case. So I would not recommend this case for anything above a mid-tier to low-tier build. If you're going for a high-end build, this is it's going to restrict the cooling potential of that build. I would not pair this with anything above like a 13700K, 13900K, or a 7900X, 7950X, anything that's going to draw a lot of power, such as most of the new CPUs do. You're not going to probably be able to cool it very efficiently. I don't think there's enough room. You'd have to be very selective if you weren't going to go with an AIO and you're going to use air cooling for your CPU. You would definitely want to make sure that the clearance on any of those tower coolers meets the threshold to fit in here. Otherwise, you're going to be using it without the tempered glass cover on it. You can't put a full-size AIO on. AIO, the 360 to 420 millimeter AIO will not fit in here because it only fits up to 280. So you're kind of restricting yourself to what you can do with this from that point of view. And then again, any kind of fresh air that's being pulled in, if it's getting too hot in here, it's not going to be cooling your GPU. So there's a lot of potential to thermal throttle your entire system because of lack of airflow. With that being said, if you're paying full price for this, I wouldn't recommend doing it. There are a lot of better options out there. This normally runs for $90. For $95, you can get the more popular 4000D Airflow. That case it's big, it's wide open, and you can fit 320 millimeter fans in the front, maybe even 140 millimeters, I'm not sure. And you can fit 2 on the top, and then it has 1 in the back. So you have a lot more options that way when it comes to cooling solutions. As well, the entire front is pretty much wide open except for the air filter to keep dust from coming in your system. So much better case, much better potential for cooling, and you're not going to less restriction. That would be the case I would recommend over this at full price. And I definitely recommend not getting this case and going for that one if you plan on building a higher end system that's going to require cooling for higher end components. However, this one right now, if you go to the NZXT website, I think you can pick it up for like $60 US. I bought this for $80 US, and that's like 125 Canadian. Or sorry, I bought it for 80 Canadian dollars, and it's now about 125 Canadian dollars. If it was at full price, I would not have bought this. But where it was on sale for this type of build, that it was completely adequate. And it does look nice. It's just I feel like NZXT could have done a better job planning for higher end builds. Anyway, if you found this informative or helpful, please think about liking the video, subscribing to the channel. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Otherwise, see you next time.